Dad, blow it. You try it, I'll get again. Can I try it?
Okay, what's
Yeah,
Alicia doing for her choice
yeah.
right now? Let's
Where
see.
you blow it? I touched my face. Blow it. Blow it. This is a bird leaf. This is a bird leaf.
I think the main job of teachers is to enable their students to realize that they have a working mind and they can depend upon their own minds and help them get to depend upon their own minds. That's huge. Any move a teacher makes will have an effect of either reassuring a student of that or diminishing a student's conviction about that.
So each morning we do morning meeting, and it is run by the children.
Hola.
So we do attendance, they each have a name card, and they run the show. Sometimes we're working on all the helpers who want to help the person who's doing the attendance. And really what I'm trying to help them understand is that everybody has a role in that meeting.
So he said, no people are out today. Would you do me a favor? Would you double check the math?
It looks like one squares out. It usually is all people when there's one right there too.
So you're thinking there's usually 2 even piles? Double check the numbers and let's see. Can you come and double check? Just double check the numbers and then we'll all count together. Because Percy thought that there's 2 even piles.
There's a person who's the teacher in that moment, and another student who had a pondering about something that didn't quite match her thinking about what was supposed to be.
15. Do you remember the number when everybody's here? 15. So Percy brings up a really, really interesting point. She said that normally the piles have the same amount, they're even, right? But I wanted to point out that
Because last time when we sleep on
Wait a second. This isn't right.
Yeah.
And I know this thing. So I want to make sure I'm not just going, let me tell you how this goes, right? I don't want to do that. I want to unpack her thinking.
we wanted to visit, it was just when our whole class was here and no visitors were here and we were just by ourselves and there was one right there.
Okay, so there is some confusion about this, right? Because there is 15 in this pile.
And unpacking her thinking takes time. So if you value children's voice, then you take the time to hear their ideas. And I think that that's probably one of the most important aspects of my teaching is that I value everything that they have to say.
It's because she lost her card. No, I still have my card. I found it. No, I found it last time.
Oh, let's try again. Manny, try again. Don't get so frustrated. Try again. Percy, listen to what Manny's saying before you interrupt him.
I want to make sure that in that process that we're listening to each other, we're thinking about things, we're wondering about things, and we're not necessarily shutting down another person's idea.
You have great ideas, Manny. Don't give up so quickly. I want him to think about this idea. I don't want you to give up so quickly.
Because sometimes they'll say, oh no, that's not it. And I'll say, well, let's hold on a second.
Their ideas are so just being formed themselves, they can't cope with somebody else's ideas that might be different. But when they feel solid about their own ideas, they can take on somebody else's and see whether they agree with those.
So we have a little situation here. We have 50 cards. Let's double check. It's Asa's turn to do meeting. Let's double check because Asa says nobody's absent. There's 0 people in the absent pile. Let's double check Percy. Percy, let's double check Asa, and then we'll come back to this conversation. Here we go. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
15. So, I have a theory. So, Percy this morning is saying that she remembers that when everybody's here, the numbers are even, and that there was another one here. So there's a couple theories.
It's something about what Percy was saying about there. It was all maybe that Mara was not there.
So maybe one day it was like that.
Yeah, so that's why.
What is it that you think Percy's thinking? And another child might say, well, maybe someone was absent.
No, what Percy's telling us what she's thinking, right? Hold on one second, Emerson. You're going to get a turn. And I was thinking maybe one day she was thinking it looked like this, but someone was absent. I don't know. We'll check in with Percy. Here's what I am going to say. Everybody is here today. Yes? Is that true? Can you give me a thumbs up if everybody's here today? Okay. And when everybody's here, there are 15 kids in the class. Can you give me a thumbs up if that's true? Okay. So everybody's here, and this is something that we know about the number 15. It is not even. There isn't a match for every person here. If Vanya visits, and we have a card, let's see if I can get a card, or we have another visitor, then it's even.
There. So then we brought out another card and we pretended it was out there. And she was like, nope. Nope. She was like, you know, when all of us are here and there are 15 cards, there should be 2 even rows.
It is even.
Yeah, but sometimes even if no one's absent, it's even.
Okay, well, we are going to have to come back to this.
And June, whose also voice is valued in here, said maybe she thought it was when we have them in 3 rows and they're all the same length.
You know, it wasn't like that, but it was in 3 5s.
Oh, that is true, June. We have done 3 5s.
Yes.
So it would be in 3 even piles, but it wouldn't necessarily be an even number, right? So let's try and see Percy's theory. Percy, can we move them around into 3 of the same pile, like June suggested?
Because what I don't want is my actions to shut down the next time something comes up and she wants to share something, or all of the children who are listening to that interaction and watching, and then I don't want them to think, oh, Kathy's going to shut down that idea. Instead, they're going to think, wait, I have an idea about something. I have a connection. My voice is valued. I'm going to challenge this idea. I'm going to share what's in my mind. I'm going to be transparent.
So now we have 3 rows of 5.
Usually it's 2 piles and then
Okay.
always.
So do you know what I'm going to let you do today? Here's what I'm going to let you do today. I'm going to let you play around with these piles and try to figure out some of these theories that are going on in your head. Does that sound good? Okay. Emerson, I'm so sorry it took so long to get back to you.
It's very possible that some people might see that and think, why didn't she just say, actually, this is this, and now we're moving on to the next thing? And I think that there are ramifications in that. And I believe as teachers, it's really important to be very metacognitively aware of what we do in every moment. And so what is it that I had planned in that moment that couldn't wait? There wasn't anything that couldn't wait. There wasn't anything that I couldn't do later on or another day or shift around, because in my mind, I'm always thinking, okay, I know that I need to get them here. I know they need to know this. I know. I also, in my mind, am thinking, what am I learning from them in this moment? How am I taking and assessing what is going on with them and the connections that they're making? And the most valuable thing for me in that moment was to take the time to help them work through that. I also know at the end of that, I'm not so sure it was solidified, right? I want them to say, I'm not so sure Kathy has this right. Let's bring this back up. Let's work this through.
I try to find the little things that people might not yet get. I always try to get confusion into the conversation, because that's where you think harder. That's exactly where the learning lies. It's in trying to straighten out that. While also appreciating that they're feeling good about how far they got so far.
That value is so, so, so important. If you trust them that they are learners, if you trust yourself to take them where they need to go, if you know where they need to go, then you know that living in that sort of uncomfortableness is important, because that's where they're making these discoveries. That's where they're saying, wait a second, I thought this. I'm gonna have to kind of tinker with this and work through this and wonder about this.
Can take long times of silence while they're trying to think. You have to be very careful not to interrupt the long silences when they're thinking. Working at understanding what's being said, even if it's not what you expect it to be said. That's really hard for teachers, I have found.
Will you tell them what it's called? In every moment, I'm thinking about all the different ways that I can go, and at the same time trying to be fast enough to, make students' voice feel honored, and not too fast to intervene in a moment when I don't need to intervene.
They feel confident and prepared and able. They take great pride in the ability to navigate the classroom. Today, for instance, we had one of our third-year students who didn't quite read the clock well and she thought it was time for us to adjourn, be finished with our morning work cycle.
Please clean up your work and meet me on the big white line.
So she called a line and she told everyone to please clean up, and they all cleaned up, and we met her on the line, and she came to me and she said, something feels funny. And I said, yep, you're about a half an hour early. She goes, what do I do? I said, well, you thank them for coming, and you let them know that they can go back to work. And so that's what she did, and that's what they did.
So, I made a mistake. We have 30 more minutes to work.
But without that opportunity, this child is not even 6 years old, and she's able to call 20 other students to a group, have a conversation with them. They respected her, they understood what she was saying, and they moved on, and they told her it was okay. Everyone makes mistakes. My job as the guide is to entice the child to the next work. I am the living link between the child and the activity. It is my job to make sure that the children are psyched to do the next work, and I promise you, they are. If math starts in one area of the room, it ripples through the rest of the room. If language and reading is a big deal, it ripples and continues on. Same for painting or sensorial or art. Maybe they do want to spend some time spending like every day doing flower arranging for the first month that they're here. That's comfort. We have to understand that children are people, and people are all different, and we all work in our own way. And if sometimes you need to spend however long you need to spend doing the flower arranging work, that's my job to let you and protect it. And then it's my job to make sure that you find the next something that you fall in love with.
All of our students were born and created and brought into this world with everything they need. It's a matter of us providing the environment, providing the modeling, having adults in the classroom that can help that unfold within them. That's very different than a traditional model that says you need to know these facts, we're going to test you, you need to have these skills. For us, it's about helping those students become who they were meant to be and have the skills that allow them to reach that potential, but that each child's potential is unique and different. And so the skills that we can provide to them to reach that uniqueness in them, that's what we're after.
Two against two. This is the girl side and that's the boy side.
Play is the ingredient. Play is the thing, right? It's not a part of the day. It's not, we have math, and then we've got science, and then we've got play, and then, no, play is the thing. And they learn everything through doing. And so if you give them this opportunity to have these amazing moments, then they're learning. So if you think about science, science is play, right? Science is play, and you think about tinkering and wondering and trying something new and making it and happen again and working it out and getting frustrated and success and and so honoring the play in everything. Play is the thing.
People get caught up in like, oh, we're waiting for the policymakers or the parents or the director of our school or the state. And I said, you are the one who makes all the critical decisions. You are the teacher who is in front of that child that day. You decide what materials you put out. You decide the conversation that you're going to have. You decide what is possible.
And they can say, okay, these are the things that we're required to do. This is what we have to do in terms of what the district is asking us to do. But within that, we still have some freedom, and there's still some time. Within, certain weeks, we can spend more time on a topic. And I think it's just sitting down and having to do that work. Now, that's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I spend a lot of time on curriculum development.
You can't individualize instruction or be involved in emergent curriculum if teachers don't have time to plan and design curriculum and look at what children are already doing. You also can't do this kind of work unless you have highly trained teachers.
I need to know my students well. I need to know my space well. I need to trust that learning is happening without me being in every crevice, right? I believe it's really, really, really important to honor the small moments and take the time to make sure that we're listening to them. Because really and truly, if we document as we listen to them, we can then reflect back on that documentation. We can use that documentation for our practice. We can share that documentation with the kids. We can share that with families. We can share that with senators and presidents and prime minister. We can share that information that we've learned with others, and then those folks will then be able to also value the small moments that involve every day.